Hey guys, Garrett back for Sableye the Mind Sculptor with another modern deck. This deck is one that I've been playing recently. It's one that I've known about for a long time, but I haven't really had very much interest in until I started testing with it, and this is Gifts Ungiven. So Gifts Ungiven is an instant for 3 and a blue that says search your library for up to 4 cards with different names and reveal them. Target opponent chooses 2 of those cards. Put the chosen cards into your graveyard and the rest into your hand, then shuffle your library. So, with this card, what you have to note is that it says up to 4. So you can choose 1, 2, 3, or 4 cards. Most Gifts Ungiven decks center around picking only 2 cards, because once you pick only 2, your opponent is forced to put both of them in your graveyard. Why is that? Why is that advantageous to you? What are you gaining out of that? Because that just seems like you're not getting any card advantage at all, right? Well, what you're doing is you're getting Unburial Rites, and in my deck, one of 2 bombs. So Unburial Rites is a card that can flash back from your graveyard for 3 and a white to return a creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. And the 2 bombs that I'm running are Iona, Shield of Emeria, which is a 7/7 flyer who makes it so your opponents can't cast cards of a chosen color, and Elish Norn Grand Cenobite, which is a 4/7 vigilance that gives other creatures you control +2/2, and all creatures your opponents control -2/2. Elish Norn obviously is amazing against creature decks. Iona is great against decks that have lots of removal, because you can just name their removal color and stop it completely. And against decks with even more removal, of course, you have to sideboard in cards like Sigarda, which is amazing against control. So, let's look at what I'm running in the rest of this deck, because this is not actually a deck with white in it. This is a Grixis deck. So, as far as the lands go, it's regular Grixis stuff, but we are running 1 Godless Shrine and 2 Hallowed Fountain. So why are we running that much white mana? It is because I wanted a total of 3 fetchable sources in our deck, so that if it came to it, I could hard cast Iona. And I'm not going to lie, it has come to it very, very few times, but there have been times where I have had an Iona stuck in my hand, and I've had a whole bunch of fetches go past me, and I've only had 2 white sources in my deck because I was originally only running enough to play Elish Norn. Well, it's a pretty fringe consideration. It is definitely something that I would suggest doing. There are 2 other cards that are going to be aiding with getting good gifts packages. So these are for if your opponent, for instance, found an answer to your gifts package, or if you've got the bomb that you need stuck in your hand and you haven't found a discard outlet yet. This will still let you fire off relatively good Gifts Ungiven. So Noxious Revival is a 1 Phyrexian green instant, meaning that you can pay either green or 2 life. There are exactly 0 green sources in this deck, so that'll always be 2 life. And it says put target card from a graveyard on top of its owner's library. Now, this sounds like a really, really bad card, and that's because it is. But in our deck, it will be useful because it basically means that you get to draw whatever card you want with gifts if they put this one in your hand. So they almost always have to put Noxious Revival in your graveyard. And then Mystical Teachings is a 4 mana instant that says search your library for an instant or a card with flash, which is like 90% of our deck. And then it has flashback for 5 and a black. So if there's no real winning with this card. If they put it in your graveyard, it's just going to become a Gifts Ungiven later. If they put it in your hand, it could become, a Snapcaster Mage and a Gifts Ungiven. It's going to be bad no matter how they give you the Mystical Teachings, as long as you have some sort of a board presence. So let's get on to the deck proper. So starting with our 1-drops, we've got Fatal Push, which is just an amazing removal spell. Works against land creatures very well, and tokens. But mainly, it's good just because it hits everything but Primeval Titan and Tron stuff. Inquisition of Kozilek is in here over Thoughtseize right now, because we only had room for 2, and I already am taking a lot of damage from my mana base, so I didn't want to take more from Thoughtseizing people. Lightning Bolt. Lightning Bolt, of course, probably one of the top 5 best cards in Modern, if not just the best card in Modern. Definitely should be running this. Gives you an alternative win condition of drawing your Snapcaster Mages and Lightning Bolts, especially if they're running a painful mana base. But it's also just one of the best removal spells around. Thought Scour is our cantrip for this deck because milling Unburial Rites plus a bomb is really good, mostly because we are running lots of delve stuff. Moving on to the 2-drop slot, this is where I decided to put Murderous Cut. It's probably wrong. Murderous Cut probably should be in the 3-drop slot, but, whatever. So 4 and a single black for a Delve instant that says destroy target creature. Delve lets you exile any number of cards from your graveyard as you cast it to pay for 1 of its mana. So this can end up being like a single black removal spell, and this is especially good with fetch lands because your graveyard's just always going to be full. I have a single Terminate as a hard removal spell. I don't have a ton of hard removal in this deck, so it's good to just be able to tutor this up with Mystical Teachings if I need it for some reason. Got a couple of Logic Knots in here. X blue, Delve, counter target spell unless its controller pays X. This ends up being a cancel a lot of the time. You just pay 1 and a couple of blue and you counter their spell. But sometimes it ends up just being an original counter spell where you just are paying 2 blue, exiling a couple of useless cards, and you're countering their spell basically for free. Snapcaster Mage, of course, needs to be in this deck. Your graveyard's always going to be full of instants and sorceries for him to snap back, and this is honestly just one of the best cards in Modern, so you should be playing it. Moving up to our ways to actually end the game, we've got Tasigur the Golden Fang, which I've put at the 3-mana slot. He can be played on turn 2 in this deck because we are running Thought Scour. Tasigur is 5 and a black for a 4/5 with Delve and 2 hybrid green-blue, hybrid green-blue. Put the top 2 cards of your library into your graveyard, then return a non-land card of an opponent's choice from your graveyard to your hand. So this works very well with Delve because you can exile the stuff you don't want them to give you back, and especially with Tasigur's own Delve, because he gets rid of 5 cards. You just get rid of the 5 cards you don't want them to give back, plus, will just end up being 3 cards you don't want them to give back, plus a couple of land. Then they have to give you back something good, or you could mill something bad off the top, obviously. Then we got a single Liliana of the Last Hope, because she's very good against a lot of decks, and 2 Liliana of the Veil, because I think she's a little bit better in general. However, I would be, remiss not to run any Liliana of the Last Hope in a deck with tutors. Moving on, we've got 3 K-Command, because K-Command is an amazing card. If you're unaware, it reads 1 black-red, choose 2, return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand, target player discards a card, destroy target artifact, deal 2 damage to target creature or player. And this is just really good with Snapcaster Mage, because you get 1 mode and you get back your Snappy from the graveyard, then you play Snappy, get back your K-Command, and get 2 modes. It's a really strong card just in general. Beats a lot of things. It is a main deck answer for artifacts, which is really good to have too. Then Anger of the Gods, as a 1-of, is my main deck answer for Dredge, or for go wide strategies, because I can tutor it up. Damnation is also a 1-of in this deck, just in case I need it to tutor with my Gifts Ungiven. Moving on to the sideboard, 2 Thoughtseize, 2 Terminate, 2 Mana Leak, because we don't have enough interaction in the main board for certain decks. 3 Nile Spellbomb, and a couple extra Anger of the Gods to completely destroy Dredge. I'm using Nile Spellbomb because I don't want to exile my own graveyard, of course. Stony Silence for Affinity, Spellskite for Burn and Boggles, and that's the deck. I'm thinking of getting back into gameplay, and if I do, this is going to be the first deck I use, so look forward to that, and until next time, peace out.